Let's see, are we on? We're on.
Hey,
Hi.
Anya.
Hey, Meg.
What they don't tell you in that intro is that Anya is in charge of me at the library. So she keeps everything straight. She makes sure I am where I'm supposed to be. She makes everything manageable. If I have a crazy request, she somehow makes it happen. So the magic of the Youth Literature Ambassador Program is sitting right there. So I think we should put Anya here.
Thank you, Meg. That's so kind. But I would be remiss to say if the real magic wasn't sitting right to my left, because you really have been. I have to pause. You all heard her bio, but I have to pause and say congratulations, Meg. You've been an amazing National Ambassador for Young People's Literature. It's a big title, but you have somehow managed to make everyone feel welcome. So please, let's give her a round of applause, okay? In fact, she's here today because she's done it again. She's written another amazing book, this time a picture book, and it's called No More Señora Mimi. It's right here. I do love a visual aid. And it's dynamic and wonderful, and I want to dive right in. So can you book talk, Meg, your own book, No More Señora Mimi? Tell us, who is Ana, who's Señora Mimi, who are they?
Oh my goodness. All right, so first of all, book talking, here's the thing. And it's been really a big part of my platform, is that I think that you can tell somebody about a book you love in about a minute and a half. You don't have to do a book report. You don't have to fill out all the vocabulary lists and all the things that sometimes happen. So I like, when I'm traveling around the country, teaching kids how to do like a book infomercial in a minute. And I've been book talking other people's books, but this is the first time I'm book talking.
I know. See what I did there?
Okay, I've got to channel my inner infomercial. Okay, let's see. Okay. Ana is so excited. Abuela is coming to live with her and Mami forever. And you know what that means? No more babysitter, Señora Mimi. She's out of here. Except that when Ana starts to think about what it's really going to mean to say goodbye to Señora Mimi, she starts to have second thoughts. It might mean no more buttered crackers with Pancho, with no teeth. It might mean no racing to the apartment door. It might mean no more getting the mail with that really cool silver key. Mimi will be gone. So this is a book for anybody who's had a babysitter, or who's been a babysitter, or who's had the good luck to be loved by someone who isn't necessarily their mom or dad. Did anybody time me? Did I come in at a...
That was perfect.
Okay, all right, good. That's it.
Now, don't you want to read the book? So that makes
Well,
you want to read the book?
I think that's how we do it. I think that sometimes we're so well-meaning about books, and we love them so much that we beat them to death, right? So I think quicker and giving kids like nuggets and letting them choose which nugget really sounded appealing is the way to go.
I think so too.
So hopefully that comes.
I think so too.
out.
I think sometimes we can make them more formal. The
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about books, too formal. It's like, what would you confess? What would you confess about your experience about writing a book, or reading a book rather? So I think you nail it with the book talks.
Yeah.
But I also know that Señora Mimi may be a true story. Tell us. Where did it come from? And who was your Señora Mimi?
Señora Mimi.
I know, but tell us about her.
So I'm so creative, right? What was her name? Mimi. And so yes. So my mom came to the United States in the '60s. She's from a country named Cuba, and it was having a change in government that my family didn't agree with. So a lot of people on the island at that time were trying to leave. So my mom came, my dad was already here, and then my mom came, and then my sister came. And unfortunately, my parents got divorced. And my mom found herself in a new country. She didn't speak English, and she had a 5-year-old and a baby. She was very scared. So she had a cousin named Nena, who came on a Greyhound bus to pick her up in Virginia. They did a garage sale, they sold everything, and they came back to New York. And then my mother had to work. A lot of moms, single moms, are working. There's probably lots of single moms here. And who was she going to leave me with?
Big question.
And she didn't speak English,
Yeah.
right? So the great thing, one of the many great things about immigrant communities is that we help each other out. So in my community, there were many Latina women from lots of different countries, from Colombia, from Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, et cetera. I see you all in the house. I see you. So there was a woman named Mimi. So Mimi was older. She was not like the Mimi in the book. So Mimi was an older lady, like an abuela type. She had red hair. She dyed it bright red, right? And she had gold teeth in the back. And so when she smiled or laughed, I would always be like checking out for those gold teeth. I found them fascinating. She also had big hands with freckles. No sé why I remember that. We ate buttered crackers.
Yeah.
She watched a lot of kids in the neighborhood, including a little boy named Nelson, who wasn't her son, but his name was Nelson. And she used to make me take naps, which I hated. Do you hate taking naps? I mean, now I like naps. Isn't that the funny thing, right? At this generation, I'm like, I'm all about a nap. But when I was little, if you wanted to torture me, you said, let's take a nap.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no,
Right.
There's too much to do. So one day, my mother, in the late 60s, I was 5 or 6, she said, oye, listen, viene tu familia, your family is coming. And she meant her sisters and her parents, because they had found out, because gossip goes across oceans, people, they had found out that my mother and father had split up. My mother didn't want to tell them because she knew they would worry, and because there was no way to get out of Cuba at the time. But they put in their papers, they got out, and they came. And my mother said, Abuela's going to be your babysitter. So I said, really?
Yeah.
Mimi? I went to Mimi and I said, lo siento, which means I'm very sorry. Lo siento, but you're out, right? And my grandmother's coming. I have a babysitter forever. And here's what she did. That was a very thoughtless thing to do, as you are all aware, right? It, like, how mean, didn't you think of Mimi? No, because I was 5. Right? And I was excited about Abuela. So she laughed. She threw her head back, and those little gold teeth sparkled, right? And she said, ay, qué bueno, how wonderful, an Abuela. And you know what happened? Abuela and Mimi became friends forever. She became part of the same community, right? And so Mimi came to my Holy Communion. Mimi came to my wedding. I know where Mimi is buried today. You know, I visit her grave when I go home. So she was always part of my life.
Yes.
And that's the beautiful thing about babysitter. Did you have a babysitter?
I had several. In fact, as you were talking about your babysitter with the freckles, everybody, I bet everyone in this room could recall something really intimate about a babysitter that you had, because it's electric. You just remember these small things. Yeah, it's real. I had one.
Even if it's a teenager, like you know how you have teen babysitters or whatever, you might remember that they liked a TV show that they liked to watch, or that they painted your toenails, or whatever they did. But there's something about being cared for and loved in some way by someone who's not like your immediate family that is also special.
It is very special.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, when you were describing your Señora Mimi, and she says, oh,
Yeah.
she knows what you don't know, is that she's not going anywhere.
Right.
You know,
Right, the
you
joke's
two are,
on you.
Yeah, exactly. You two are going to stay in each other's lives forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something very special about that. Well, it's also no secret that babysitters tend to, you know, they have these fun traditions, but they also have ways in which they break the rules, just, you know, a little bit, something a little bit different than parents. But they also teach things in different ways than parents can do. So what is so special? How did children receive that information so differently from a babysitter? What's special about that learning relationship from a babysitter
Yeah.
and not a parent because it's different.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so I think the kids are going to know exactly what I mean. You know how you act in your own house.
That's right.
Your feet around the table or whatever. You know like how it goes at your house. And then you go to another relative's house, right? Or your neighbor's house, right? There's slightly different rules. Maybe you're not allowed to go into the refrigerator there. Or maybe, you can't scream at the top of your voice or pound your brother there or whatever it is that's going to happen. So I think one of the things that kids learn when they're with babysitters is that there are behaviors that are slightly different
Yes.
in different circumstances.
Yes.
And when they're very little, like that's an important first step, like before you go to school, because the rules are totally different, right? Like
Yeah.
who's sitting,
Yeah.
and doing all of this at home? No one. So it's like this slow sort of learning.
Yeah.
I am this way at home, but when I am in this other place, I respect other rules. Other people have other things. Like the real Mimi, she felt it was very important that children could look at things but not touch things. This was not a rule my mother had. I broke everything she owned, right? But Mimi had, the equivalent of like $1 million store figurines everywhere, like all these little breakable things. And I still remember like yesterday, she also had this picture of her own daughter, Beba. And it was in that day, I guess, like in the 60s, they would sort of paint over a photograph, and so it looked very painterly. And she was so exotic and beautiful, and I wanted to hold that picture so bad.
Yeah.
And she would say, no, mira, pon las manos aquí, and I had to put my hands behind me, and I could lean forward like a bird pecking, right? And I could look like this, but I couldn't touch.
Yeah.
And it came in handy later, because I would also visit my father's mother, Fifa, my grandmother, who we called the general, so
Yes,
imagínate,
I can
you already
imagine,
know
yes.
where she was coming from.
Yes.
And boy, you better not touch anything in Fifa's house. So
Yeah.
it was good training,
Yeah.
that I didn't go in as my normal whirling dervish.
Yeah.
know.
But you also remind me that different babysitters also have different rules. Because
Yes.
I could think back to, I had a babysitter named Kearney, and she was, older, and I had to behave, and all the neighborhood kids were there.
Yeah.
But then when I was babysat by a teenager in the neighborhood,
forget it.
right? Like, the rules were totally different, right? But I was still learning what was age appropriate, all the way along. So,
Or they say things like, quick, get in bed
Yeah,
before
or
your
don't-
parents get here.
right?
They're
Or don't
10
tell
years.
them, don't tell them. So anyway, that's sweet. You also make me think that, right now, it used to be common that we were cared for by our aunts, our uncles, the elders in the family. And now things are so different. Families are spread across the country. Our caregivers could be the neighbors, a trusted family network. You could have coaches, teachers, all number of people. What's the difference? Do you think we lose something in this new machination, this new way of doing things, or is it more realistic? Like, what do you think?
Well, I think that the being cared for by someone outside the family is really common now.
Yes.
And so you'd be hard pressed to find kids who haven't had some sort of daycare experience.
Agreed.
Right? In some way. And that's also spotty. Like there are daycare deserts.
Mm-hmm.
That you are a young mom yourself, so like childcare, moms out there, you have had this situation, right? You need to go to work, you have an important meeting, the child is sick, like what do you do? How are you going to afford the amount of care that you need for your child? Like it is a really difficult thing. So I think daycare workers and babysitters are essential workers in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right? We can't function. We are working. Both parents are working typically, and so we rely on child care providers, whether it's in daycare or in homes.
Yeah.
And in this country, interestingly, according to the Urban Institute, most in-home healthcare, in-home caretaking of children is done by brown and black women. And often for not very much money.
Yes.
And no health benefits and things like that. So it's a really interesting thing, right? This essential work that we need desperately, and that sometimes is hard to come by and is hard to do that work because it's low paid. So there's all of these things. But you were asking me about what we lose
The difference,
or
yeah.
what we win.
What we lose and what we win.
I think, you know, when my own children were little, and they're in their 30s and 20s now, so it's a long time ago, I remember that I worked part-time, and I had a caretaker, and I spent so much time wishing I were with my children more.
Yeah.
And that agony of missing things, of rushing around, that kind of thing. I think, though, we also gain some things by having kids know how to have relationships with people outside their home.
Yes.
So it's not a completely,
Yes.
you know, one way
Yes,
or
of course
the
not.
other. I think it's a plus and minus. But more important than anything else is just real.
Yeah.
Right? Right now,
happening?
it's just real.
Yeah.
So what I want to see happen is that we elevate and we celebrate caretakers, like Señora Mimi. Like there aren't many picture books that celebrate a caretaker, right? I'd like to see more of that, like the celebration of people who do the work to raise children and to care for them, whether they're your own children or someone else's. So, yeah.
You mentioned it being a picture book. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the pictures in the picture book.
Oh my
right?
gosh, how fun was that?
How fun is this? And it's full of these rich browns and reds.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the changes in Anna's life, right? She's on the cusp of this big change. Her grandmother's going to come. Her life is going to change, just like the season in the book, you know, changes, throughout the book. Were you? How did it come to? I mean, the pictures. How did it feel like it came to be for you? And
oh my goodness!
Yeah.
So Brittany is the illustrator. Is you know what she does for a living? She's a librarian. Isn't that fabulous? Yeah, I know. I love that too. So I was just delighted, and she came to illustration because in the library, she would do what we always secretly accuse librarians of doing, which is reading all day, which is not what they do, but I think Brittany might have been. So she was really studying picture books.
Yeah.
And like what makes it work, what makes a child look at a picture on a page and want to turn, you know, like all the things. So she was working really fast on this book because there was a lot of interest in having it come out during the time that I was ambassador. So the first thing she sends is just like scribbly sketches. And she purposely did not want to see a picture of the real Mimi. And that's good because this Mimi is a young mom. And Nelson is her baby. She's not a grandmother. She doesn't have red hair or gold teeth. That would have been another kind of book. So I got those first, and they were wonderful. But Brittany just seemed to know. Like, it should be the fall colors because I mentioned that I'm walking through the leaves, but the fall is when things change. And so life, one thing is ending for a little while, and then something will be born on the other side. But I want to show the sweaters that are on the book. So you'll notice that they wear matching sweaters. And originally it was just like a pink sweater or something, but we find out that Mimi has knit this sweater. And on the last page, of course, she's also knitting a sweater for Abuela. And look at the fabric. She's knitting in the same third sweater to include Abuela. But do you know that Brittany found that sweater at REI? She's walking through and she sees this striped sweater and she sends me this picture. She goes, "We should wear this on our book tour." I thought, maybe not. Good idea, Brittany. Anyway, but Brittany lives in Denver. I feel so lucky because I'm going to Denver next month, and she and I are going to visit schools together, and we're going to be able to talk about the book, just like the previous guys here. It's really fun when the illustrator and the writer, like for example, when I was first writing this book, I thought to myself, is this going to be a funny book or a serious book or a middle of the ground book? I didn't know. So the first time I wrote this book, she was writing an inter-office memo to Señora Mimi. It was like, memo to Señora Mimi.
You're fired.
From Anna, 4C, RE, you're fired. You know, and then it continued. I thought, that would be a funny book. And then I changed my mind.
I'm glad it changed.
Yeah, I know. I know. But it was a thought.
Yeah.
It was a thought because it's ridiculous for a kid to fire their babysitter, and it seemed like built-in fun. And my daughter was fired. My daughter was a babysitter for when she was 14. It was her first babysitting gig, and she went next door to babysit my neighbor's son who was 3, and he fired her. And my daughter came home crying. She said, he fired me. I said, get back to that house.
Yeah, exactly.
You tell him that's not allowed.
I like you keep saying the child files that fired the babysitter, but the child is not really allowed to fire the babysitter. So I think, some configuration there.
So,
okay, so I'm gonna have you do a very quick book talk for your national ambassadorship, and then we're gonna open it up for questions from the audience.
Okay.
So be thinking, because we want to hear from you and Meg to answer your question. So we have a picture here. So this
it was
is
Cuéntame.
Tell us about Cuéntame.
Cuéntame
very quick.
is a phrase in Spanish that means so tell me. And we always use it when we see a friend for the first time. Cuéntame, how's your family? Cuéntame, what's been going on? But I want Cuéntame, let's talk books. And what that has meant is going around the country, and I want to know what you're reading, what you really like to read, and what you really don't like to read, and have conversations. So I go to schools and libraries. Also, I had families come to the library. Some of them are here today. And they told me all about their book life. And parents, I want you to know the one thing I learned is this. The families that seemed to have the most engaged readers were families, all of them talking about books. Like the mom or the dad or the caretaker, whoever is living in that family, is saying, I read this is really good, you might like this. Or the older sister saying, I liked this when I was in the 4th grade, and giving it to their 3rd grade, brother or sister. Like, that's the thing, making books part of your life. I went to visit libraries, which was great fun, because libraries are not just books, oh my goodness. I went to a library where you could check out things like a baking pan that you don't want in your house for too long. Like you could check it out at the Nashville Library, or a violin, or a lawnmower if you needed one. I went to a library where I was checked out as a book. It was called the Human Library. So people they could check me out for 30 minutes. And they could just, and they had to promise that they would not damage the book, and they returned it in its original condition. These kids that you're seeing on the slide somewhere are cuentistas. These are kids, when I go to the school to talk about the books that I love, they come on stage and they talk to me about the books that they love. And I have a reading list like this now from them. And the last thing is just like, the kinds of welcome that I've received around the country. I'm going to remember so many things about this, but the love that you receive from your community, and especially the Latino community, has been overwhelmingly beautiful. They did a dance. This is in Nampa, Idaho. And they came out and they did this beautiful dance. And the first thing they said, which I so appreciated, they said, we know you're Cuban and not Mexican, but we're going to dance this to Gloria Estefan. So it's going to work. So they were wonderful. And thankfully, you didn't include the video, but I got to dance with them. And when they go around with the skirt, I got very dizzy. So it's a lot harder than it looks. It's been a joy.
It's been wonderful, Meg. We have one question over here.
Yes. Hey.
Hi. I was just going to say, I love how passionate you are about storytelling. And I was curious your process to writing your first book. And then as you look back on the journey, if there's been a favorite moment. I mean, I see the award around your neck. I wasn't sure if you have a favorite moment.
You know what? The process is always remembering things about growing up, and the questions I had, and that I maybe couldn't ask when I was a child. And I'm always asking myself, why do I remember that? When I can answer the why, I usually have an idea for a book. Because I couldn't share, because I had that big fight with my friend and it hurt my feelings, because my dad wasn't there and I needed him there, whatever it is. So that's how I usually find it. And then I take what really happened and I Frankenstein it up until I have a book that makes sense for kids right now. As for favorite moments, every day is there some beautiful thing that happens because it's in service to kids, right? And to their families. So it's always, I get a belly laugh every day. I get a new way of thinking about something every day. But certainly this has been a beautiful experience that I won't forget. The Newbery was another one that was wonderful. But the richer thing, the thing that endures, is the everyday. You know, the kid who says, oh, I read your book, I loved it. And like they have nothing to do with Latino culture or whatever. They're in Wisconsin somewhere and they go, you spoke to my heart.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm sorry. And you're like, that's it. That's the thing. So.
One last question here.
As you were talking, I remembered a babysitting moment
Yes,
from my
yeah,
childhood,
good.
and I want to remember more and do my own journaling about it. Do you have any, for this book you just wrote, did you remember everything instantly, or did you have to brainstorm or ask yourself questions to remember some of these details?
So
please tell me how to do that.
Yes, so this is what I do, and this really is my practice. So I do an exercise called I Remember, and I will pick anything. My uncle, my grandmother's hands, my grandmother in the kitchen, my roller skates as a kid, and I set the timer for 8 minutes. For the first 6 minutes, I write everything I can remember about that person. The shoes they wore, if they had a wart on their hand, the color of their hair, lo que sea. You know, everything. You're just writing. You don't care about spelling, you go. Then it rings, 6 minutes. Then the next question at minute 6 is, why do you remember it? And I spend 2 or 3 minutes answering that question. Almost always, that's the emotional moment. When what you keep subconsciously, what you keep in the back of your mind, in that enormous file cabinet that we all carry around with us, the why pushes it forward. And then you start to see the shading of like being human. Like what are the things that matter when we're young? And why do they matter? And so you get very specific things, and then you get the bird's eye view. And from up there, then you can start to make the story. So try it. I think it works for me.
Well, you can see why she's been your nation's book friend for these past 2 years. She's the best. So please, let's give her a big round of applause.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks. We kept to time.
And I just want to say one last thing. Okay. Please help celebrate Meg. The end of her tenure as National Ambassador is going to be right here in Washington, D.C. at the Library of Congress in December. Please join us because she's just been a terrific ambassador and we want to honor her and her legacy. So please join us. And you can continue the conversation in just 15 mere minutes because Meg is going down to sign books. So please get her books, get your books signed, and any lingering questions that we didn't get to here today, you can ask her in line.
Yes.
We'll see how quick she can be.
And this book comes out in September, so you're getting it early.
You're getting it early here first.
Get it before the rest of the country. So.
Yeah, and we kept to time, so we did our work, Meg.
Yes, I know, that's impressive.
Thank
Thank you,
all.
everybody. Mil gracias.